Portland, Oregon. It's time for A Different View, with women's perspectives on the fight to end prohibition again. With Portland Dispensaries Examiner and mother of four, Jennifer Alexander, and professional healthcare provider Iva Cunningham from Alternative Medical Choices, Inc. Now, here's A Different View.
Welcome to A Different View. I'm Jennifer here with Iva. Sorta. we're still learning on the camera stuff. We'll figure it out. Every Tuesday we're here doing A Different View. Tonight we've got some good topics, I think.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about racial disparity. I can never say that word. It's like
disparity.
Disparity. I want to put a G in it. And then we've got a guest. Hopefully, if we can get him on Google Hangout, Steve Janowitz, which is from Pop-Funk People United for Medical Marijuana in Florida. Mm-hmm. There's a lot going on down there. We've talked to that group before. Steve is in the Miami-Dade. I think that's correct. I'm not sure, county, one of the largest counties, and he's going to talk a little bit about the constitutional amendment that's going on down there, kind of give us an update about what's happening in Florida.
Which to me personally is a pretty exciting thing. I mean, they've been working on this for a while, so it's kind of like here in Oregon. You keep your fingers crossed and you hope for change, and you got to keep working.
Well,
but the thing that's really exciting to me about that is that Florida is among the few that are the most draconian with their drug laws. So to even just see action happening there is a really exciting thing, and it gets the conversation started.
Well, they've got a lot of support, a lot more than people would think, because they have an older generation of residents that live there, and they also have Bob Batuna down there who's doing a lot. It's a lot more progressive, I think, than people give Florida credit for.
But I don't think that topic comes up from that perspective as often as we'd like to see it. So this is
right.
Exciting news, I think.
I think so too. It'll be good to catch up with them. Any state that allows medical or legalizes or decrims even, I'll take it. I'll take what I can get.
And I did want to talk a little bit about Elizabeth Warren, the senator who commented about how.
Snarl. Can you see me snarl?
Well, no, I thought her comment's good. She's the one that said that basically.
I know,
the situation that the drug possession doesn't or gets you jail time, but laundering doesn't, and that's a topic that we really need to talk about.
Right? Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. No, I wasn't talking about.
And then we're going to conclude the show a little bit with some parenting skills. We'll just leave it at that.
I'll let you take that topic.
Yeah, I got a lot to say there.
No business.
You're listening to A Different View. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Alcohol used in excess and marijuana are equally capable of producing erythema and benefits.
I'm Sub Cool from Team Green Avenger. At TGAgenetics.com, we are working on the leading edge of medical strains. Our strains are rigorously tested for THC, CBD, THCV, and other critical cannabinoids. Know your grow. Check out our genetic diversity at TGAgenetics.com, the home of Jelly Bean, Jack the Ripper, Vortex, and other award-winning cannabis strains.
It's a couple of more minutes to 4:20, and I can't seem to find my stash. Can barely remember where I put it. Guess that's what I get for smoking grass. So I asked a friend of mine if he had some, and all he had was.
Now we're back with A Different View.
So I asked.
Welcome back. This is Different View. I'm Jennifer here with Iva.
Hello.
This segment, we're going to talk a little bit about, like I said, Elizabeth Warren. She's a senator. I forget what the name of the commission is, but they've been talking about the money laundering, specifically like with HSBC.
It would be the Senate Banking Committee.
Thank you, the Senate Banking Committee. And they were asking the different regulators, basically, at what point does this warrant jail time?
Right.
Laundering money for the cartels, because and the whole video is wonderful. She makes some really good points, but she says basically not only were they caught red-handed laundering money, like not once, but like multiple times.
Right.
They were then warned to stop doing it and continue to do it. And they were fined as a company. Nobody has faced any sort of penalty. And she was just trying to understand. She's like, I understand that, legally speaking, as a member of the Senate, that these penalties are in place. When do we use them? Like, at what point is it serious enough that it? And
how much money do?
And the banking commissioners basically said that wasn't their job. That they just do the penalties, that
they assign
the fine.
Right.
Here's the opening question from Elizabeth Warren. We have the video for that.
Excellent.
To prison. Now, in December, HSBC admitted to money laundering, to laundering $881 million that we know of for Mexican and Colombian drug cartels, and also admitted to violating our sanctions for Iran, Libya, Cuba, Burma, the Sudan. And they didn't do it just one time. It wasn't like a mistake. They did it over and over and over again across a period of years. And they were caught doing it, warned not to do it, and kept right on doing it, and evidently making profits doing it. Now, HSBC paid a fine, but no one individual went to trial. No individual was banned from banking, and there was no hearing to consider shutting down HSBC's activities here in the United States. So what I like is, you're the experts on money laundering. I like your opinion. What does it take? How many billions of dollars do you have to launder for drug lords, and how many economic sanctions do you have to violate
What makes you mad about this is
before someone will consider shutting down a financial institution like this? Mr. Cohen, can we start with you?
Certainly, Senator.
So the thing that for those that don't know, this is why there's so many laws, in the banking sector about, like, if you deposit more than $10,000, it's got to be reported, and it's because we're supposed to be trying to prevent money laundering and this sort of activity.
And these were out and out admitted doing it, and continue to do it regardless.
And so the point that she's trying to make is that, as she was ticking off those various points on her fingers, those were the penalties prescribed by law that are available to deal with this.
Right.
This is the law. The law says that they can be shut down, they can go to jail, or that they have that hearing, or banned from banking is the third one. So on that note, none of these things have happened, and she's like, why not? Like, when does this happen?
Right.
And again, their response was basically that they don't do that. That's somebody else. That's why it's not happening.
Does?
Nobody.
So it goes back to, they're here, but nobody's going to use them.
The problem with
for show.
The problem with all of these different agencies, like, usually when it comes to marijuana, it's that we have too many agencies. Like, if the city cops aren't busting you, the state cops are, the county cops, the DEA, the IRS, you name it.
There's always all these different agencies willing to take you down.
Right. And if they don't take you down one way, they're going to take you down another way.
Right.
But when it comes to money laundering, everybody basically says it's somebody else's problem. And that it's somebody else's responsibility. Like, well, we just handle the civil. We just handle, and nobody wants to touch it. And so it's not getting enforced. And that's exactly the reason we have these laws in the first place.
Right.
So it just kind of highlights, the problems with the way that we handle the drug laws. Go ahead and you were speaking a little bit about merchant services.
Well,
Explain this a little bit.
When I first opened up my clinic, I tried to get merchant services because most people pay with their debit or credit cards, right? And I couldn't. It was really difficult. And I even had my own bank. Oh, yeah, we can do it. No problem. They had to come down, look at my building to ensure that I didn't have any cannabis there, do their little run through, have this little speech, just to make sure that I wasn't going to be selling any cannabis. And they went back, wrote it all up, tried to be very vague, went to my website and said no.
Because your website mentioned the word marijuana.
Cannabis, right. And this happened over and over and over and over again. So they wouldn't let me process my patients' credit cards.
And this was for a doctor's visit for our listeners.
A doctor's
this
medical
is a doctor's
evaluation,
visit that says, you know what? Marijuana might help you. That's it. It's not that he's handing out marijuana. There's no marijuana growing.
Nope.
It's just a doctor discussing marijuana
Right,
with
saying,
you.
and making a medical document that says, yes, I recommend cannabis to you.
And so the people that are playing right can't do business with you,
Right.
or won't do business with you because they're afraid of the consequences.
Right.
But the people that are doing the money laundering are blatantly doing it over and over and over again.
Why would they? There's no
not
penalty.
penalized.
There's no penalty, and they're making millions. So
And,
why
and,
would
and we
they?
talked about the HSBC ruling on a previous show, but basically it works out to be that they made billions of dollars and they paid a couple $1 million in fines. That's called a fee. That is not a fine. That is a fee
It's a
for
cost
doing
of
business.
doing business.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
that's
they
it.
write that off and they continue
Right.
on. They've still made all this money doing something that's illegal, something that's stopping people like you from being able to accept payments,
Right.
stopping these just, proper banks from being able to handle these transactions.
Right.
Also that they can continue to launder money.
Right.
And so I love the power in how she brings this all together, and that's to point out the disparity between the marijuana user and the cartels.
Right.
Because marijuana users, dealers, growers, whatever, they are going to prison. I mean, even if they say,
Right.
well, not the people using marijuana, fine, but the people selling it, the people growing it, these people are going to prison.
Right.
But the
Banks
banks
aren't.
laundering from the cartels, which is like if you were looking
Well,
at
and
the
I
old
mean,
drug
why is
kingpin
anybody
schedule,
surprised,
you're talking
though?
the top. These are the
Right.
guys that we're supposedly after.
Right, but why is anybody really surprised? The financing industry has been in the gutter for a long time. You look at the housing market, look at commercial business, look at small businesses. Everything's been squeezed. And a lot of that's the financial market not being regulated, or being regulated but not being enforced. And this is a perfect example of that. And anytime you try to do anything legitimate or play by the rules when it comes to medical marijuana or marijuana in general, they don't want to talk to you. They don't want to deal with you. And so
it's
we're
because of the
forced into
fear.
that black market. We're forced into that black market. But so what really pisses me off
We're
here is
forced
this
into that black market so
market.
people like HSBC can make
big
billions
of dollars. Exactly.
Not because of some moral compass issue.
Right, or fear on their part. I mean, clearly they have no conscience about doing it. They just want to be the ones to do it.
Yeah, let's go ahead and play that conclusion if you could.
And I'll just say here, if you're caught with an ounce of cocaine, the chances are good you're going to go to jail. If it happens repeatedly, you may go to jail for the rest of your life. But evidently, if you launder nearly $1 billion for drug cartels and violate our international sanctions, your company pays a fine and you go home and sleep in your own bed at night. Every single individual associated with this. And I think that's fundamentally
Fundamentally
Really
wrong.
flawed, yeah.
Yeah.
Clip there, but
No, and that's right. And I'm so happy to see, I don't really know much about Elizabeth Warren, but I'm so happy to see somebody standing up and saying this loud and clear in this forum. And
she's the new senator from Massachusetts, and she rose to prominence as the head of the new Consumer Protection Board, and she was viciously opposed by Republicans and pro-business people because she actually plans on cracking down on things.
Well, let's hope she does crack down on the likes of HSBC and these other people that are getting
Right.
away
I just
with
have
it.
one more comment. I think this illustrates, that everybody is in on the take here. The DEA, the banking system, everybody is in on the take are benefiting from the drug war,
Except for the poor, the minorities, the people that have the least ability to fight back.
Exactly. Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, that have the least ability to fight back. That's
And I
exactly
think
it.
we're going to talk a little bit more about that in that third segment. We're going to do
Get
Russ's
into-
presentation. I'm looking forward to that. We should probably take a quick break here
Yeah.
pretty quick
Oh, yeah, we're
and
about
get
to.
our guest on the line because I really want to talk to him about the Florida initiative.
We'll be right back. You're listening to A Different View. This is Jennifer and Iva.
Science is the best tool ever devised for understanding how the world works. Science is a big human form of knowledge. We are always at the brink of the node. Science is a collaborative enterprise spanning the generations. We remember those who prepared the way, seeing for them also.
If you're scientifically literate, the world looks very different to you. And that understanding empowers you.
There's real poetry in the real world. Science.
Let them bring in the beat.
Adam Hand of Handmade Apparel produces quality custom designs for t-shirts, hats, and other apparel. Handmade Apparel is the official design shop for 420 Radio, The Russ Belville Show, Ganja John, and Cascadia Concentrates, among many clients who rely on Adam Hand for everything from short-run custom projects to full-run clothing lines. Adam's meticulous designs are individually crafted and screened in vibrant, high-definition color. Visit handmadeapparel.biz to browse the selection of handmade gear or to get a personal quote for your own designs. Handmade Apparel, a proud supporter of 420radio.org.
Let them bring in the beat.
They say you're tough, man. Why do you do that? I wanna hear it on your radio.
And now we're back with A Different View.
Well, I'm excited about tonight's guest. We have a guest from Florida. Lots of things are happening in Florida, and tonight's guest is Steve Janowski. Did I say that correctly?
Steve Janowitz.
Janowitz. I'm never good at names, they'll tell you.
That's all right.
Well, Steve, you're with the group in Florida, People United for Medical Marijuana, and we've talked to your group before, but it seems like there's a lot of buzz going on in Florida with the constitutional amendment. Can you tell us a little bit of, give us kind of a synopsis of what's happening in Florida right now?
Yeah, we just came out with the survey that we did from, or I don't know if your viewers know Florida, but from Orlando, east and west, all the way down here to South Florida. And the polls showed, which my boots to the ground, already knew this, that 7 out of 10 voters are in support of medical cannabis here in the state of Florida.
That's awesome. That's definitely good. I know that's kind of an ongoing trend around the country right now too, isn't it? Isn't that a pretty standard finding recently?
Yeah, there's the misnomers are still out there, but with 18 other states, here in the U.S. having medical cannabis, I think they're more accepting of that than full legalization.
Definitely.
Now, Steve, Miami-Dade, now that's the largest area, or county area, right? Metropolitan area, excuse me.
I do believe so, as far as the populace is concerned. But then again, Orlando area because of Disney World, but then also the greater Tampa area, which has 3-4 different surrounding counties. Everybody lives in, other counties, but then pretty much travels into Tampa area. And the same thing with here, the commute that people do every day, I don't understand, but yeah, pretty much.
So can you summarize us a little bit on exactly where you guys are? I know that you guys have been striving to get those laws changed there in Florida. What exactly is going on in terms of the efforts to get those laws changed?
Right. Okay. There are legislative issues or constitutional amendments that are going through our Florida legislature. Those in Florida, it takes anywhere between 2 to 4 years, all depending on the complexity of the law, to get a law through. So that's why we did People United for Medical Marijuana. We're a people's initiative. In other words, we need to collect the signatures to get it on the ballot. And the difference between what ours is and what's going through the legislatures, ours is a constitutional amendment that will allow for medical cannabis, that will, all the laws will be written from. Now, what's going into the legislature, through the legislature now, is three different legislative constitutional amendments to complement each other. I haven't gone over the third one yet. But all of those, the laws are embedded into the Constitution. So once that's done, there is no changing the laws.
Okay. So now is there any allowed for grow or sell or dispensary system at all or anything like that for selling?
You mean what's going through the legislature?
Yeah.
Yeah, from what I was informed, it would be a 58, 59 page from seed to sale. It wouldn't allow for anything to be imported into the state, but anything can be exported out of the state.
Oh.
Right.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay.
And
that hasn't raised any red flags at all?
Well, I don't know. In all honesty, because like, as I stated earlier, it's 58, 59 pages, but what I'm reading, it's 130 pages.
So just to be clear, there's a few different bills going through your legislature, but your group is specifically working on the constitutional amendment that sort of binds what these laws can and can't do in Constitution of the state of Florida, so that you're allowing for medical marijuana, but not gets into that nitty gritty, right?
Well, yeah, because ours is a more general that allows for medical purposes. It states a lot of major diseases, but it also, in our constitutional amendment, says, and between the doctor, patient, if they decide that medical cannabis is the route to go for treatment, ailment, cures, whatever it may be, then that's between them. And again, ours doesn't have any laws embedded into it. It's just a constitutional amendment from which all the laws will be written.
So it's a framework.
Right. So yeah, you're setting the framework, which I think is probably a smart way to do it, because you're getting people to agree on what are the terms that we're looking at this under, and then defining what the law is at a later time. A lot of people have definitely appreciated that strategy. I know for legalizing marijuana here in Oregon, we had a group that was specifically looking at that strategy, allowing recreational
but it was
use.
much simpler
and leaving it,
yeah.
Just sort of setting that framework. That's a good idea.
Well,
exactly. And then nothing, because the bottom line is once something is embedded in your Constitution, you'll have to do, if it does get voted in, you'll have to do what we're doing to try to get it out.
Now,
right.
I think I had read that some of the polling was coming back. 7 out of 10 people were in favor of the medical marijuana initiative.
Yeah, the thing is, it all depends on what area of the state.
Okay.
I mean, but then again, like Lee Collier County, when we first started, I think it came out in 2010. They did a poll. It wasn't, scientific, statistical. It was just, click if you agree for medical cannabis. But that was going over, I believe, 85 percentile, and that's the conservative Republican area.
Wow, and that's even though there is a lot of controversy around the medical marijuana programs in other states. You haven't found that's been brought up as the pushback, if you will?
No. When I'm out there, it really doesn't matter what party affiliation that they are.
Mm-hmm.
I've had Republicans, say to me, and I'm a registered Republican at this time as well, and say, "Oh, I totally agree with this." I'm like, "That's great." I said, "I'm a Republican as well, but I don't vote party lines. I vote for who's for the people."
Right. Well, and I always, when I was in Florida, I found it interesting that the Republican Party there, or the people that I kept calling that I kept meeting that labeled themselves as Republicans, were old school Republicans or libertarians in their thought, not necessarily the more conservative Republican that...
I was just going to point out that there was a recent convention of Republicans, and I forget the name of the article, and I'm going to have to go dig it out now that I'm mentioning it. But it was very recently a convention was held, and Republicans discussed whether or not to support legalizing marijuana as a part of re-identifying with their Republican base.
Part of their strategy.
And while they decided not to support legalization, the key thing I wanted to point out is that 40% of them said, yes, we should support this to re-identify. 40% of them think that this is a way to connect with their base.
I think this, the fact that this has gotten this far, I think that that this is becoming that, more of a serious topic of debate, and it is going to be a party, not initiative, but a party platform. Thank you. Thank you. I was going to say platform.
I think every party can agree on this platform.
But I think that, as we've seen out here with more campaigns being supported by the cannabis community and winning, that's putting pressure on other people running, on other states running for different offices as well, because, as this platform grows momentum and is, considered very serious, just like gay rights are.
So, Steve, you were mentioning about you guys are doing this petition process. You guys are currently collecting signatures or beginning to? What's the status of that, and how do people get involved if they want to help?
Okay. As far as the status, from what I understand, they're getting ready to process a complete total, inclusive of the 30+ thousand that have been turned in. I think the total that is online is like 100,000.
Okay.
I have another 15,000 here as well that need to be processed. What was the other question?
Well, so do you guys think you have all of the signatures necessary, or how many do you need?
Oh, no, actually, because the thing is other people have tried this before. So during the Jeb Bush administration, they said because one group only needed 300,000 signatures to get pigs to be raised free-ranging rather than in the cages, and they'd literally put that in the Constitution. This was the early 90s. So the legislatures came out with, well, we're going to double the number of signatures that you need. So we need, rounded up, 700,000. Of course, we want to get more than that because to show that the people do support it. And then as well as only state law can you collect signatures electronically, but as far as a constitutional amendment, it must be by physical paper. So that's what's been kind of hurting us in a way, because, I mean, if I could walk around with a laptop and an iPad to, get somebody to sign, that's a lot easier than handling pieces of paper. They knew this, but the thing is the people voted it in. So it's the will of the people. Fine. We'll still do it.
Right. So how long do you have to get the 700,000 or so signatures?
We're shooting for the 2014 election at this time.
And so when do they
the deadline for constitutional amendment or for because the process is this. We collect 10%. The actual number is 680,000. So we need 68,000 for a constitutional review by the Florida Attorney General. Okay. And then by the Florida Supreme Court. And then in the meantime, while they're doing that, we still collect signatures and meet our goal, meet our objective.
Excellent.
Nice.
And your website, it's pufmm.org, correct?
That's correct. We've reverted back to our old website. We did have a more dynamic website via WordPress. Because we reverted back to the old one, our rankings went down. But between myself, my co-writer, Shane, she's up in Orlando, we got in a month's period, we got our website ranking from like 4.7 million to 2.5 million in less than a month. So we were doing well, but the thing is they're in the process of redesigning it again. So that's why, again, it's static right now instead of dynamic. But once we get it dynamic again, we'll get our worldwide rankings back up again.
And there's a lot of good information on your website currently from what I'm looking at. You got a Take Action tab and the plan, and so people can kind of see what you're doing and how you're getting there.
But you're also on Facebook as well.
Yes, that's true too. If you go to facebook.com/PUFMMFL, that's our main Facebook page. And what I've done since we used to have on our old website an interactive map. So in other words, you clicked on any Florida county and you were able to be taken to that Florida County Facebook chapter.
Right, I saw that.
So what I've done is took all those chapters, I put them in a document, it's online. I haven't posted it up to every Facebook chapter yet, but we'll get on that next.
Okay.
But the thing is from the facebook.com/PUFMMFL, they'll be able to be taken to their appropriate county chapter.
Cool. Thank you so much for coming on the show with us, Steve. It's been awesome getting caught up on what's going on in Florida. I did share your Facebook page and webpage on our Facebook page as well so that our listeners can check you out. And good luck with getting that on the ballot.
Okay, appreciate your time. Thank you for having me on, and more than willing to come on anytime again.
Great. Thanks, Steve. Have a great night.
Okay, you as well.
You're listening to A Different View. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to check out some of Russ's presentation here coming up. You're listening to A Different View.
I've been playing rock and roll for a lot of years, and I've done it all. Now I do it without drugs. Hey, don't get me wrong, I still party with the best of them, but now I do it clean. I'm on top of everything I do.
Have you ever seen a news story like this?
When shit hits the fan, I never really thought about it before, but it's kind of sudden and violent, and that's kind of what happened this week.
What about the children?
But I just want to say fuck you guys very much for judging me. For using a plant to do whatever. It's none of your damn business. I don't ask you why you drink your face off. Okay? But the deal is I harmed no child.
Your one-room schoolhouse of choice. Your one-stop freedom shop. It's the Libra Lounge.
And remember, kids, as always, do your fucking homework.
En el misterio de las cosas, todas las razones, todas las opciones, todas pero algunas resultan hermosas, dependiendo de cada quien. Un abecedario de distintas causas, evidentemente diferentes mentes, pero cada ritmo sabe de unas pausas que le hacen mucho bien. Tú solo necesitas sentir en tu boquita la fértil mezcla de sensualidad que es amor y marihuana.
Now we're back with A Different View.
All right, we're going to watch a little bit of Russ's upcoming presentation that you're doing in Atlanta. Right?
Yeah, I'll be in Atlanta Friday is when I'll be doing this presentation at noon, I believe, Eastern Time. And then Saturday I'm doing the 420 radio oral drug test, which of course is the Jeopardy.
I do an oral drug test often.
Yes, okay, awesome.
Jeopardy game. But Iva wanted to. I was showing the slides to Iva, and she was particularly mesmerized by this one. So I'm going to bring this one up, and you got to start it from the right one, Russ. But I'll bring this slide up. Oh, now I lost my place.
Oh, this is what you call fill space, fill air.
No, we're doing fine here.
Well, We'll get there.
Oh,
I think he
we
just
got
found
it. We got it.
Yay.
All right. So let me put the picture on here for us.
This is kind of the face of the drug war, and to me, I mean, this is a peek at what it really is.
Okay. I haven't seen this yet, so I'm just watching.
What we've got here is a look at 2 months worth of mugshots for arrests for less than 25 grams of marijuana in Milwaukee County, Wisconsin. Okay, so you got Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Now, what I've done along the top here is give you a bar graph of the relative population of pot smokers in Wisconsin. 83% of all pot smokers in Wisconsin are white people. And then it's like 7% for black and 11% for Hispanic or something like that. But it's a low amount. Along the bottom is the 2010 census breakdown of the residents of Milwaukee County. Now, of course, the Milwaukee is going to be a lot blacker than, say, all of Wisconsin, right? So I think that's a more accurate representation. 54% of Milwaukee County residents are non-Hispanic whites. 27% of Milwaukee County residents are African Americans. So the example is I went to a website that's called, I can't remember what it is, but it's a mugshot website. And to be fair, I didn't include the arrests of people who didn't have a mugshot, but there wasn't a whole lot of them. This is for January and February 2012. Now, as an example, we start with, we'll put 10 white mugshots in the white area, if you will, of Milwaukee. And then we'll put 10 Hispanic mugshots in the Hispanic area of Milwaukee. And then we'll put 10 black mugshots in the black area, the African American area of Milwaukee, right? Well, the problem is as we continue to collect these mugshots, there's only one more white mugshot in a 2-month period. 11 white mugshots that I could find on this website. And only 5 more Hispanic mugshots that I could find on this website. But I found 10 more black mugshots. And in fact, I found a whole lot more black mugshots. Let's just, dispense with any pretense here and move those Hispanics out of the way. Because I found 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 130, 138 black mugshots compared to 15 Hispanic and 11 white.
In a predominantly white region.
Yeah, in a place that's half white and about a quarter black. And white people and black people don't really smoke marijuana at any greater rates.
Not
right.
Statistically,
the rates are similar.
And it could be that there were more whites that were busted, but their mugshots weren't included because they could afford lawyers that could get the mugshot, not put on the website or something. There's all sorts of ways of confounding this. This isn't accurate data by any means. But that doesn't matter. These are a bunch of 138 black guys that are going to have trouble getting a job because their mugshot shows up forever on Google.
Well, right. The big problem is that they're stuck in that situation, in that perpetual cycle. They're not going to get out of that cycle. And their parents were probably a part of that cycle, and so on and so forth. What I find interesting is that, nationally, I mean, this just simple observation that you made for that slide, the same thing could be demonstrated probably in every single state.
Oh yeah.
That there's, regardless of what state we're talking about, I think the numbers would be the same.
Well, Dr. Harry Levine has got a great website, marijuana-arrests.com, and he puts up all his research on the NYPD and on California, right? So there's all sorts of great graphs and stats that will show you the same picture I just showed you. I thought it was pretty telling to pick Milwaukee, Wisconsin, middle America, and you get the same result.
Well, I was reading that there's this one article about New York, just New York, and it says 25% of the adults sent to prison from New York City come from areas with just 4% of the city's adult population. More than half are admitted for drug offenses, and 97% are black or Hispanic. 97%. Well, and that's just shocking to me, and how we can't see that these draconian drug laws are creating this, are taking a whole group of our communities and now putting them in a prison system and into a system that they can't win, they can't get out of. Because once you're in that system, it's really hard to recover from it, if you do at all.
And I we talked about this a couple weeks back, but I finally got to watch it myself since then. That documentary that we talked about a few weeks back, The House I Live In. Watching that was a hugely informative and visually, like, it helps you grasp exactly what it is we are talking about when we're talking about this drug war. And that picture that Russ just put up, that's another way to illustrate things. We're seeing it over and over and over again.
It's shocking.
And like Russ said, there could be other reasons for why it looks like that. But we know that it is like that.
Yeah.
There isn't an excuse
Everyone
underlying it.
knows
The
that.
statistics prove that is exactly what it is. And if you can ignore it when it's numbers, can you still ignore it when it's faces?
Well, prosecutors, prosecutors will tell you that the majority of the people that they see in the courtroom that are there are for drug offenses, and then beyond that, most of them are African American. Period. So it's something that this country we talk about, but we don't really highlight it too much. And I think, I wanted to talk about the Rockefeller drug laws.
I was going to say, just as a transition here, because the Rockefellers being rich, this kind of plays into that. I bet, too, if you could look up each and every single one of those people in those mugshots, not a single one of them is even of means, let alone wealthy or rich.
Oh,
not
I'm
a
sure of it.
single one of them.
Have you ever gone into just like, you can go in to any well, I shouldn't say any, but here in Oregon, you can go in, and on any day they're just having arraignments, you can go in there and you can watch and listen. And I highly recommend this. I've done it a couple of times. Years ago, I used to work for the Springfield Chamber of Commerce, and we do leadership committees. And one of those was a day, the judicial system, and we had to study the judicial system and talk to attorneys and so on and so forth. And so we had to sit in the courtroom while people are being arraigned, and it was just shocking to me. First of all, I would say over and over and over again, I mean, more people than not could not read. A majority of them could not write their names. And none of these people are people of means. I mean, they're barely functioning in society at all. So, they're not going to be able to fill out an application. I doubt they're going to get a job that isn't more than labor if they can get one. And every one of them, I wouldn't say every one of them, but I would say the majority of them were African American. Couldn't read, couldn't write, couldn't write their name. And it just seemed like they were just being caught up in this big net. And I don't recall if they were, drug offenses, but it was just, to me, it just seemed like the system was just churning and chewing up our minorities in such a massive way, like a big turbine.
No, that is exactly one of the other points. It's actually coming out quite often recently, and I'm happy to see this talked about, because this is the crux of it. A lot of different sources, from different little memes on the internet to articles, that are well thought out and well researched, and everything in between, are pointing out that our prison industrial complex is based on slave labor. And our Constitution specifically allows it. It's not illegal.
Right.
So long as you're a criminal, they can use you as a slave. Right. It's allowed.
You've lost all your rights.
And so we've taken advantage of this. And with the private prison system, it's become especially atrocious. See, like, when you take a prison population and you're using them to better the community through governmental work, cleaning the sides of the highways being one example of that, doing community service and in these, these things like we can, as a society, sort of look at as a moral payback to the society that you've wronged in some way.
You are helping the community.
But when we're doing this so that these various corporations can make a buck because they're paying somebody $1 instead of paying a real employee, we have to really evaluate what it is we're creating. And I think what you've just said about them catching them up in a net is exactly what we're creating. We want, as a society, this is what we said.
Well, cheap labor. And
it doesn't matter if you're one of those corporations or one of those people in prison. You're buying their goods. You're relying on it too, and that's why it continues. It's because we're okay with this,
right?
And we keep ignoring the reality. We want people to be seeing the reality.
Well, and I think that people don't understand why they're there, and a lot of those, we talk about the drug laws, and just to segue into the Rockefeller laws, which are the mandatory minimums, which in the beginning, this, most people didn't feel that this was that big of a deal, but then Nixon came in and he declared this war on drugs, and Rockefeller was critical in implementing those laws. and as you said, Rockefeller's very wealthy, and he did an about face when he did these. He was kind of not so sure this is, being very strict or this was important, and then all of a sudden it became very important, and there was a zero tolerance approach at that point. And but these are, when people talk about Rockefeller laws, they are what set the precedence for the mandatory minimums, the 3-strike bills, the no tolerance, go to jail for life no matter what the drug is. If you're caught selling, using, or abusing or whatever, your life is of no value, and therefore you should be in prison. And that has set off this wave of acceptance that it's okay to just incarcerate our social problems away. And that is what we have been doing as a country, and it's time to just quit it. Definitely. And really pay attention to the unfairness of this.
I agree. I'm looking forward to that presentation. Give us the details on that again, because I didn't catch it all.
The presentation is called Debunking Goldilocks, Analysis and Debunking of the Kinder, Gentler Drug War of Kevin Sabet and Project Sam. I'll be performing it in Florida. Florida. You got me talking about Florida. I'll be in Atlanta, Georgia.
Be close.
All this Florida talk. Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta, Georgia, Friday. And for more details on this, you can go to peachtreenormal.org. peachtreenorml.org. We'll have all the details. I'll be doing that on Friday. On Saturday, I'll be doing the 420radio.org oral drug test, which is kind of like Jeopardy, kind of like Family Feud, and kind of like, what's that show with the big bucks, no whammies?
Big bucks, no whammies. I don't know that
show. I know which one you're talking about, though.
Is that like Bonkamole?
Something.
You're listening to A Different View. We're going to take a quick break, and we're gonna talk about a mom who let her toddler smoke marijuana. We'll be right back.
Stories.
All the liar, I light it up. A meditation time, me not commit no crime. Me love me ganja right home, me love me lime. Smoke ganja and it is a fire. So officer, nobody charge me. Me smoke one piece of ganja.
I'm a doctor. I'm a lawyer. I'm a journalist.
I'm a student.
I'm a teacher.
I'm a representative.
I have cancer.
The outdated laws of prohibition are more dangerous than the plant itself.
I lost my scholarship.
I was fired.
20 million arrests since 1965. This is getting ridiculous.
Our prisons are overcrowded with non-violent offenders.
We have the opportunity to change.
This is costing our country billions of dollars.
Making my family and I fight in a courtroom is difficult enough when I'm already fighting through chemotherapy.
There's no reason to be scared by tradition anymore.
We can stop this. We can stop this.
We are the American people.
We can stop this.
And you have our support.
We're old,
young,
straight, gay. We're every race and nationality.
And we're not going to give up. You can tax it.
You can regulate it.
Apply age restrictions.
You can create millions of new jobs. We can save our economy.
President Obama?
It's time for legalization. Legalization.
Yes.
We
can.
And now we're back with A Different View. Describe this video.
This video.
Yeah, you said there's no sound on it, right?
Yeah, I was going to say there's
viral.
no sound. I didn't know if you were going to hit player. So this video is a cell phone video that somebody who was present at this situation apparently took a picture of this mother giving the toddler a bong. And apparently the toddler steps back from the bong and coughs, but because the face is blurred, it's hard to see that. And she was arrested. And basically admitted that she had, this was her in the video, and that she was, putting the bong by the child's face, and that it was a joke that she apparently wasn't as funny as she had thought it was at the time. The thing that stands out to me as both a tobacco smoker and a marijuana smoker, and this doesn't justify it by any means, but it totally changes what you're seeing there, is that looks like an empty bowl, and there's no smoke. So I think I get what she was saying when she says it was a funny joke. You know what I mean? I don't think she means, letting my kid get high was a funny joke.
Right.
But it illustrates sort of how scared our society is of this, for one, and how little things can...
However, you know what, Jennifer? Here's the thing.
Wait. Let me finish saying what happened here. They arrested her and her husband.
For child endangerment.
For multiple charges. Child endangerment was only one of them.
Yeah.
They arrested them for growing marijuana, for supposedly distributing marijuana because of the quantity that they had. For child endangerment, they took the kids, this child and another child, put them into foster care. So there's a lot going on here, all because of this video. And just to be clear, I'm not saying that what she's doing here is okay. I don't think that giving a child a bong, empty, full, whatever, in any way is okay. But in just a second, I'm going to link a video to our Facebook page. And I didn't give this one to Russ, so I'm sure he doesn't probably have it ready. But it's a child chugging juice out of what everybody described as a beer bong.
Right.
And like, while a lot of people said, wow, teaching them good skills, you know, like kind of a little down on this parent, nobody busted down her doors. Nobody went through her house. Nobody took her kids.
She's still under the care.
And
but you know what I was going to say earlier is that nobody thinks twice if a child is carrying a beer or tasting it. I mean, nobody thinks twice.
Here on the video screen, I have, if you go to Google and you type in baby with beer, this is what you get. Image after image. Now, some are photoshopped, some are not. Some are silly, some are not. Kids are probably not drinking. But there's hundreds of these, and I doubt any of these people got their kid taken away over it.
And it's not that we're okay with children drinking. We're not. We're not. But we understand that, for one, it's, you know, the parent and the child, and so long as that the child isn't in a particular place of harm, that it should be okay. Now, maybe this warrants a phone call from a neighbor saying, man, I saw that video you posted to YouTube or
maybe
Facebook.
That wasn't such a burn-on.
You know what I'm saying? And maybe you shouldn't be doing that around the kid, or you're sending. But it doesn't warrant people busting down your doors, taking your kids
away.
and arresting
I
you.
mean, well, and I think, you know, if there were others. Yeah, she had a lapse in judgment, but you know, who couldn't admit that? You know, who hasn't? And I find it really offensive that, I mean, like Russ said, there's all these pictures of kids drinking beer. There's even one of this mother lighting up a cigarette and he's holding a beer. Yeah, that's funny, but it's not funny.
Well, and that's what I was going to say, though, is that I really think these are cultural differences.
Well, sure
I don't think that you can define what's okay. I wouldn't give my kids a bong. I wouldn't
give them a beer or a bong or anything else. Yeah,
I don't think that they need those things. I also don't give them Kool-Aid. It's not illegal, but I don't think it's a good idea. And as a parent, I get to make that decision.
Right.
And this is the problem that I have with it, is that there's somebody else defining what's okay for you. There was a video that I watched a while back, and while it sort of shocked me to see, this was a mother and a father and a whole village in the background, and a young child smoking a big spliff, which a spliff is like huge, what we would call a blunt. You know, it's a big cigar paper stuff. And it was this child smoking it and handing it off to the next person. To them, it was a part of their ritual, just like Catholics go to church and drink a cup of wine.
Right.
Now, if you see a cup or a child drinking a beer or whatever, you're going to be like, wow, that child shouldn't be drinking. When it's wine, it's this religious ceremony, and everybody's okay with it.
Right.
It's the same event. It's what it means to you.
Right.
So it's not that I'm okay with any child smoking marijuana, but I definitely don't think it's the government's place to come in and say this unless the child's in a specific harm.
Right.
In this particular video, like I said, I don't even think there's any pot in that. I don't think there's anything. I wouldn't do it. I still think it's a bad idea. But they've totally turned this into, they busted them for growing marijuana to they busted them because they were letting her smoke.
Where is this at?
Washington of all places.
Oh, so we're not quite there yet, are we, Washington?
Well, and again, it's just to set an image, though. Like I said, I want people to watch this video. Watch it over and over and over again. I did. At one point, there's a little white detail, like wait, there's this little whiteness that you can kind of see behind the bong, and it almost looks like it's smoke until she moves the bong and you realize there's a white blanket right behind where it's at, and there's no smoke, there's nothing in the bowl. And they're passing this around with these big headline, Mom lets toddler smoke marijuana, and they talk about the dangers of inhaling that cannabis and all of this. And I think it was an empty bong, which the other thing that was interesting about this article.
I wonder if they've drug tested the child.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know. It's suspicion of doing this so far, so they haven't
really charged her.
But as I was
wait
looking
45 days and then do it.
As I was looking up different stories from this, I found one that was Parents of the Year or something, and it was all of these ridiculous things from, parents that actually did do things that were quite potentially harmful or truly harmful, like the parents that put their kid in the cage kind of thing.
Right, or the woman who duct taped the pacifier to the child's face.
But then there was another story of a mom that had her son and another son, another child over at her house, and they were like playing like at a slumber party, and she had duct taped them or something and sent a picture to the other parent thinking it was funny. She ended up in prison. You know, I mean, when you look at these different stories and you see the spectrum, and everybody's line's a little bit different, don't get me wrong. Like, things that offend me may not offend the next person.
But I think we jumped to mass hysteria in the first place. I think that's our first impulse, our gut reflex, if you will, when it comes to this. But yet, our actions broadly don't support taking care of the children, because in this case, I mean, there's no reason to take these children away.
Unless there was some sign of harm, but they've not indicated any sign of harm here. The only harm that they're pointing to is the fact that they're suspecting that she may have let this child smoke marijuana. And like, there are plenty of videos out there where parents do let their kid. I'm not saying that parents don't do this, but this particular video, the thing that caught my eye was the fact that it doesn't look like the child smoking marijuana. It looks like the child is using a bong as though he were using marijuana, which is something that a young child probably shouldn't know how to do.
If that child had its mouth around a beer bottle, nobody would ever think twice.
And so I'm going to go find that beer bong juice real quick.
But I mean, but to be, just to point out, whether she was or wasn't, I don't know. I think we as cannabis consumers have to be wise, especially right now, about the image that we project out there, because this has implications for other parents that are cannabis consumers and their children. And where do we start saying that taking the children away is more harmful than allowing the parents to have cannabis in the home? When does that decision get made? Because just by having cannabis in the home is a risk to those parents. Just merely possessing it is a risk of losing your children.
And I have one more article that I'm just going to post to our Facebook page and just talk about really briefly, because it's about a year old, but it was highlighting, I believe in Michigan, when they were doing their medical marijuana laws. And one of the things in their law basically specifies that unless there was a clear indication of harm, that cannabis, being a medical marijuana patient, couldn't be used against the parent. And so this article was sort of highlighting what that meant and what it didn't mean, kind of thing, and it was basically saying, being a patient is not harmful to the children, that you're not likely to lose your kids. But then it went on to say, but growing a bunch of plants is dangerous to that kid.
Just the fact the kid's in proximity next to that plant, the plant that isn't quite usable yet. I mean, do they expect the kid just to crawl into the dark or into the garden and start gnawing on plants? Is that what they're expecting? That looks good.
Yeah, and it's hard to say what they're
cannabis
thinking.
milk. I don't know. I mean, I just find that whole thing ridiculous. But it is, just we've talked to different mothers in since we started the show that have lost their children. It's it's a very important part of this whole fight to rid our country of these draconian laws is that the children are not protected. They're not protected. This is not protecting that child.
Well, and I think that we really need to change how we deal with all of these things, not just the people opposed to it, but the people in favor of it, both sides. Because when you walk up to this situation and you're making all of these assumptions about these poor, uneducated druggies that you need to save, you've kind of defined their future,
right?
Too.
But I think in this situation, this was an easy target. I think medical marijuana patients are easy targets, especially if they have children. They're easy targets, to ruin their children. And we don't seem to be doing a whole lot about it. To change those laws. Well, there's our music, our cue.
Yes.
Speaking of our cue, Chief Greenbud will be at the Southern Cannabis Reform Conference this Friday and Saturday, along with me. He'll be performing at the VIP fundraiser, 7 p.m. in Atlanta.
I'm so sad.
It's at the Center at Springforth Complex, 728 Spring Street Northwest, Atlanta, Georgia, Friday and Saturday.
Awesome. Yeah, we love Chief. I wish I could be there. I'm going to miss your presentation. I'm going to miss Chief. I hope it's all recorded.
Oh, yeah, we're recording it all.
So you're listening to A Different View. We're going to go ahead and wrap this show up. Check out our website, adv420.com. Check us out on Facebook, Different View 420. Our Twitter at ADV420. And
we might tweet something sometime.
We tweet quite often just from like posting this stuff, I believe. But either way, any of these ways are a way to get connected
Tweet
with
to
our.
us, follow us.
I'm no good at Twitter. I apologize, but I link it.
I'm Twitter challenge. That's for sure.
So, but you can also watch our episode tomorrow at 5 p.m. is our replay, and then we upload it all to the website if you want to check it out on demand.
And check out all the other shows on 420 Radio. There's a lot of really great shows. Russ's show, that's Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which you can always download and watch later. There's the Herb Age show or Flower Hour. Well, I know. I'm so tired right now. My day's done.
The whole listing is up at 420radio.org. So check it out. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Bye.
It don't make me hungover or act like an ass. You ought to give up drinking, start smoking grass. You ought to give up drinking, start smoking grass.
At www.omarfigueroa.com.